Enhanced Stick Precision, or ESP for short. Today I'm going to be going over how this can help improve your aim and how to circumvent some of the cons that come with using ESP. First, let's go over its two functions. You have the degree slider and you have the curvature slider. The degree slider regulates how many degrees around the target you have before the dampening curvature starts to take place. The more degrees, the bigger the circle around the target gets, meaning the higher the number, the further away from your target that your crosshair can be before being affected by the dampening curvature. The curvature is how much your movement slows down the closer you get to your target, meaning the more curvature I have, the more input I have to give to achieve the same amount of travel. Now that you know how these settings work, let's go over how to find the best ESP setting for you. Before we can start tweaking our ESP, we first have to find a curvature that feels comfortable for us to fly around in. I usually recommend finding this value with the smallest, fastest craft that you can. If you have a car to wall, that would be the best option. If not, an arrow would be just as functional. But you don't want to try to find this curvature when using something big like a C2. The method for this is very simple and it can be done on all your axes. That said, we'll only be covering pitch and yaw as that's the most important axes when it comes to aiming. The other things you can apply it to is things like straight forward, back, left, right, up or down. Essentially what you want is a curvature that allows you to move in a way that allows you to be fluid. The goal is to find a value as close to 1.0 as possible. In this next clip, I'm going to have a comparison on me using 1.0 sensitivity versus 1.2 sensitivity. As you can see, when I use the 1.2 sensitivity, I have much more fine control over my lateral movements. As you try this out and test this for your own, I want you to keep two things in mind. First is that your sensitivity value might decrease the better you get at this game. Second is, depending on your controls, this level of accuracy may not actually be possible for you. Now that you feel comfortable flying your ship around, we can talk about ESP. I recommend entering Arena Commander and joining Pirate Swarm or Vandal Swarm. Just make sure to go into single player so that you can pause it by hitting escape and changing your settings. Let's get into the sensitivity curvature. First, make sure that your degrees are set at the default of 8. As you aim at your enemies, I want you to do a circle strafe as you try to acquire on them. You may also recognize the maneuver as a skidded roll, a corkscrew, or just generally orbiting around them. If you don't know how to do the circle strafe, I'll link in the description a video that teaches this technique, along with some other guides if you struggle with combat at all. What you're looking for is a value that allows your crosshair to stay on the pip without much movement at all. You want to be able to maintain a nice, steady, consistent aim. If you start to put your crosshair on the pip and you notice that you're overshooting, you want to raise your curvature value. Don't try to guide yourself by undershooting, as that usually occurs more because of the ship's movements. If you can maintain your crosshair on the pip, and anytime you have to readjust the crosshair, you don't overshoot the pip, then you have found the curvature value that works for you. And again, we're trying to find a value as close to 1 as possible. Now that we've covered that, let's move on to degrees. You want something that gives you a smooth feel between on and off, as too quick of a snap is very hard to adjust to, and too slow of a change can be very detrimental to your combat. The goal here is going to be the same as prior. We're trying to find the value as low as possible that works for us. And again, you should be trying to find this value with the fastest ship you have available. We're going to be finding this value by doing snap aiming. What I want you to do is aim your crosshair away from the enemy. Then I want you to move it as quickly as you can from outside of target to the target pip. If you find while you're trying this that your pip feels unstable, or that if you're overshooting too much, then it's time to lower your degrees. In short, the higher this value, the easier it's going to be to put your crosshair on the pip, but the greater the value, the more sluggish your ship will feel. The goal is to be able to achieve a value as close to 1.0 as possible, while still allowing you to flick aim at your opponent and maintaining a steady target. The final thing we have to cover when it comes to ESP is the one con that is attached to it. This has to do with the distance relative to the opponent. If you're further away, it doesn't matter if your aim is slower, but the closer you get, the faster you need your aim to be so that you can turn around as you pass your opponent. ESP can slow you down in this aspect. This is where something like an ESP Toggle is going to be extremely helpful. All you have to do is go to your key bindings and find the ESP setting. Once you're there, just set it to whatever key you want. I advise picking something that's easy for you to click as you're fighting. Once bound, you'll be able to use it in two ways. You can either click it once to toggle it on or off, or you can hold it to temporarily toggle it. This is my preferred method of using it, as you don't want to accidentally turn it off and not realize it as you're fighting someone else, and you don't want to be taking your attention away from combat to check if it's either on or off. On a final note, I want you to understand that I'm making this tutorial because I want you to understand how ESP works and how it can function for you. Even though I have some methods that I have found to work best for me, it's possible for you to find some things that work better. The main thing I want you to take from this tutorial is the understanding of ESP and how it affects your aim in the verse. If you want to see any more of my tutorials, I'll link them down in the description box below as always, along with any information about this video that I find people ask frequently. With all that being said, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.